Bill Plan at the White House. Thank you, Bill. Let's talk more specifically now about the stimulus bill. Some Republican governors have questions and concerns about the measure. We're joined by one of them, Governor Mark Sanford of South Carolina, head of the Republican Governors Association. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
It's no secret that Republicans, many of them, most of them in Congress, don't support this, but a number of Republican governors do because it offers so much aid for the states. Why don't you?
Well, I think that what I've said and what a bunch of other folks have said as well is that, one, there are real strings attached that I think actually hamper your ability to implement the use of this money. The Congressional Budget Office has pointed out the fact that there's a real lag time in actually getting this money into the economy. And I think that a problem that was created with too much debt will never be solved by adding yet more debt. So I think that there are a number of different wrinkles that have caused a number of us to say, wait a minute, let's take a look, a long look at whether or not this makes sense for our state.
Even if it takes a while to get the money, how do you justify, let's say, not taking it to your constituents when in your state, for example, in December had the third highest unemployment rate in the country? Don't you need the money?
Again, being against it doesn't preclude taking the money. So, again, we're going to look at it, but what you find when you actually begin to look under the hood is that some of those strings attached mean you've got to go spend a lot more money that you don't have to be eligible for the funds. For instance, on the unemployment component, you'd have to, for the first time, offer unemployment benefits to part-time workers. That's something our state has never done, though the Unemployment Commission itself has gone and asked for $140 million from the feds and asked yet again for $170 million from the feds to keep up our current level of benefits payable.
You say you're against it, but you still might take the money. Do you realize how some people might think that you're putting ideology ahead of the interests of your constituents?
Well, I'd say it's the reverse. If we take the money, in other words, I've made my ideological stand.
But if you're so against it, why take the money?
Don't think it. Because ultimately I represent almost 5 million people in South Carolina, and the stand that I take against a bad idea, and again, I've tried to sprinkle as many tacks in the road in terms of trying to slow this freight train that has been coming our country's way, that I think will have bad ramifications and will not solve the economy. In fact, it's done the reverse. I think it's effectively frozen up private capital, which is the real economic stimulus of our country. But I've taken those stands. Now, when you get to the point where we're at now, we did not stop it. It passed, and we're going to take a judicious look at parts that we like, parts that we don't like, all that we like, none of that we like, and make a decision here over the weeks ahead.
Governor, in the last seconds, do you think that the new foreclosure rescue plan will help people in your state?
I suppose you throw enough money at any problem, you're going to help. So the question is, will you harm others? Because there are no free lunches in life. And I think that there's a real moral hazard component that goes with doing what is proposed here, because a lot of folks that do play by the rules, who have been paying their mortgages, are going to feel like the sucker at the birthday party, as the neighbor down the street may end up with benefits that they don't have.
Governor Mark Sanford, thank you very much for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
Russ Mitchell is off today. So Chris